Cindy is definitely the best Brady. That's not a debate, is it, Cindy? It's Cindy.
I thought it was supposed to be Marcia.
No.
No?
Cindy.
Good afternoon, Judge Latham.
Good morning, everyone. I mean, good afternoon.
It is afternoon, yes.
I apologize.
Just because none of us have had lunch yet, it is afternoon.
Well, after this, you'll be able to have lunch.
Well, welcome, and you may begin your opening comments.
Thank you. Before I begin, again, I want to thank all of you for your dedication to this process of selecting individuals for our appellate courts. It's impressive, just the dedication that all of you have to this process, and I realize all of you have reviewed all the materials by all the applicants. That takes a lot of time. It's quite an application. It's been a pleasure to speak with all of you, and most of you 2 or 3 times now, as I've applied for this position on the Court of Appeals. Although I'm not comfortable about speaking about myself, as you know, I'm going to do my best to explain to you why I believe my background, both professionally and personally, will be a good fit for the Court of Appeals. I believe that they will provide a unique perspective and additional layer of experience to the Court of Appeals. The opportunities I have been able to take advantage of have made me the person I am today. I continue to be honored and privileged and fortunate to serve the citizens of the 7th Judicial District as a district court judge. I've spoken previously about my childhood growing up in the West End of Davenport. As I reflect on my life, many aspects of my personal and professional career may be viewed as challenges, but there were really opportunities to seize and to grow and succeed in those opportunities. We all have those life moments, and that's what makes us who we are. The difference is how we use them and grow and succeed from them. We all have layers which make us all unique. I had the drive as a young man to do something different and with a purpose. I always strive to do my best. There were many times that my parents struggled to meet our basic needs of myself and my siblings. I knew at that time I wanted to do something different as far as the career path I chose to provide a career that for myself and my family in the future. I had no idea then that the opportunities that would present themselves would lead me to the place that I am today. The fact that neither side of my family had ever pursued a higher education than a high school diploma may be considered a challenge. Yes, but it was an opportunity to explore something different and something no one had ever done before. That opportunity presented itself when I was able to attend St. Ambrose College on essentially a full ride on need and scholarship. That experience provided my siblings an example to follow if they so chose. Pursuing a higher education provided me with the opportunities to explore many possibilities as a career. I could have easily stayed at the Rock Island Arsenal where I worked while I pursued my education at St. Ambrose and where I obtained my accounting degree, but I knew I wanted to do something a bit different. So I took a leap of faith and pursued my career path in law. And I was so fortunate to be accepted at the University of Iowa College of Law. Little did I know at that time that would be the building blocks of my judicial career. And I've been fortunate to do that now for the past 7 years. After graduating from law school, I thought for sure I'd enter the area of business or transactional law. But no, another opportunity presented itself, and I became a general practitioner. From the very start, I began representing clients in various areas of the law at a very hectic pace. I represented individuals in criminal law, family law, juvenile proceedings, and that included both delinquencies and children in need of assistance matters, and also probate, real estate, transactional, and corporate matters. Through my 22 years of practice, the percentage of representation in these areas became very fluid, but I kept my fingers in many different pots at many different points of my career and continued to go into all those areas of law. I always recognized the importance of the work I was doing But after time, I truly appreciated the impact that my work had on the lives of my clients. Also, that I was making a difference with every opportunity in representing those individuals. The varied and hectic practice that I maintained provided me with the opportunities to explore various areas of law, and it served me well as a district court judge. I can appreciate the struggles that the private bar has in meeting the needs and demands of their clients, their staff, their families, and most importantly, the judge and the courthouse staff. I practically apply the law as an attorney, and I continue to do the same as a judge to effectively and efficiently administer justice. My decisions as a district court judge are opportunities made with a purpose to resolve the disputes of the individuals that appear in front of me, or determine the fate of the individuals that appear in front of me. And I understand those decisions have lasting impact upon their lives. It is exactly this experience and the opportunity to be a general practice attorney and a district court judge which will suit me well as a judge on the Court of Appeals. If I am fortunate to be appointed to the Court of Appeals, I intend to continue to be involved in the community and the judicial branches as much as I can. As you can see from my application, I'm just not satisfied just doing my job. But I also desire to be involved in as much as I can in the judicial branch to assist it. Additionally, I intend to remain involved in bar activities, school activities, community organizations, and just the community in general. I believe these activities enhance the transparency and legitimize the judicial branch as a whole. I am proud to be a judge in the state of Iowa, and I take every opportunity to show it. My involvement in these activities emphasizes my ability to work effectively with others to accomplish the goal of their organizations and to complete the intended task. This goal will carry over to the Court of Appeals as I work with all of the judges in rendering decisions for the cases that are presented to us. Although we must work collaboratively, I will not lose my independent thinking. If I am passionate about an area on a case, I will not give up that independent thinking, but I will stress my passion for that position I've taken on a case. And if I feel that it's of such importance, I won't hesitate from doing a dissenting opinion if I find it's necessary. One of the commissioners asked me what drives me. I never really thought about that before. But after reflecting on it a moment, I realized the fact that I've been learning and doing something on a daily basis is what drives me. And the excitement to do that every day. It's very similar to my father, who could have easily chose the security of working in a factory on a daily basis, just doing mundane, routine, everyday, the same thing over and over. But he chose a career in carpentry. He did something every day. And every day he did something different, and it impacted his choice as far as being a carpenter. I may not have the carpentry skills of my father, but I do have the passion and drive to do my best in every opportunity that comes my way. And I would welcome the opportunity to become the next judge on the Court of Appeals. I know I can utilize my past personal and professional experiences to be an effective member of that court and to continue to do a job I love and which makes a difference and has a purpose. And I thank all of you for your consideration for my application to the Court of Appeals. And I welcome any questions that you might have for me at this time.
Thank you. And we have some time for questions. I'll begin with Mr. Horbach.
I have no questions, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Spees.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Judge Latham.
Good afternoon.
You know, we would be naive to ignore the fact that confidence in our public institutions has suffered a lot. And what skills or aptitudes or personality traits do you have that would bring public confidence in the courts of Iowa to bear?
I believe I'm a judge that people can feel comfortable and come talk to me on any topic that may be concerning to them. I routinely have attorneys come in to see me to talk about areas of the law that they might have questions on, or how do they proceed, and even people within the community. I feel I'm kind of the common person's judge. they can feel confident and comfortable coming to me. And I think that's important as we make that public outreach. And I do make that every opportunity that comes my way. I go to many community events. I also go to legislative forums to meet with legislators, and so that they can see the judges and what is concerning for the judicial branch.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Mr. Goodman.
All of my questions were answered in our visit. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mrs. Sinclair.
No questions.
Mr. Bevel.
Judge, in your application, you reference a common sense approach. Will that translate?
You bet. You bet. I try to, when I write a decision, write it in such a way that it's easy for the audience to follow and see what the, I've listened to them, number one. Number two, applied the law. And when rendering that decision, using the common sense that the litigants or the attorneys can see that I followed along with their facts and applied that law, and they can easily follow my decision. That's and I think it's just, Mr. Bevel, I think you have to have common sense and feel that those people coming before you, that you're just not out there, you're down to earth and seeing what's important to them.
Ms. Stanger.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Judge Latham.
Good afternoon.
We talked a little bit about a couple tough cases you had this summer, one dealing with the First Amendment, the Quad City Times Matter. We also talked about what I find equally tough and challenging, and that is your relationship and leadership on the soccer board. As a soccer mom, I appreciate that that's probably at the same level of the First Amendment challenge in front of you. But I think what I wanted to ask you about is the dichotomy of the life that you do live in, both at this very complex level and yet, this family level and this community relationship level. And if you could share, I think it's unpacking a little bit about what you said about the judicial branch as a branch assisting in the community, perhaps. Can you unpack that personality traits and your roles in various situations for us, and how that might transcend to your role on the Court of Appeals?
Yes. I'll first touch on the soccer board. That can be a really tough position sometimes, as all of you know. Many of you have children, as you know. I'm just as guilty as all the parents in my soccer club. I'm very passionate about my children. But as the president of the soccer board, I've had to take some positions that may not be accepted well by the parents that come before us. And I've had to consider what's best for the organization as a whole. And we follow the U.S. soccer philosophy, and it's been our club philosophies. Those sometimes don't mesh with the parents that come before us. And I've been very firm in dealing with the parents, and I've earned their respect. And that may be difficult in the small community in which I live in. Everybody knows me. And that's not always easy, because that position is unpopular sometimes with those parents. But I know that that's what needs to be done for the common good. And I think that translates over to the judicial branch. Even sometimes when I've had to render a decision, it's hard for those litigants to accept my decision. But it is the best decision that can be made, for the benefit of everyone involved in the case and the law as a whole. So I hope that addresses your concerns. And it's a difficult position to be in, but it's something that I've assumed to do.
Thank you.
Ms. Pearson.
No question.
Ms. Law.
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Gray.
I'm going to try this one. So once again, we've gone through an entire group of interviews, and we've never used the word wisdom. We've talked to a lot of smart folks over the last 18 months. We've talked to a lot of folks that I think probably have wisdom. But Judge, you're a sitting judge. Tell us, please, what in your mind is the difference between being a smart judge and being a wise judge?
That's a loaded question, Mr. Gray.
Yes, it is. I am a trial lawyer.
But it's a good question. I think a wise judge, I think all of us have wisdom. You're exactly right. A wise judge sometimes has to set aside some of those personal feelings for the benefit of an individual and not be swayed by the personal feelings of those individuals coming before us, and make a good decision based on the facts that are presented with us, of course within the boundaries of the law. And hopefully in writing that decision, or if it's even a decision from the bench, using language that the litigants can take from that courtroom, from that decision, and grow from that. I often try to use pearls of wisdom when I'm addressing some of the litigants in my courtroom, and also within my writings also. Sometimes some of those people have never had the opportunity or direction with people within their lives, and I utilize that opportunity to give them those pearls of wisdom.
That was a wise answer. Thank you.
Mr. Bloom.
Okay, I can't resist going back to a baseball analogy again. So years ago, there was, I think in a playoff or World Series game, George Brett hit a home run, and the opposing team appealed to the home plate umpire that there was tar too high on the bat handle, and the umpire called it an illegal home run and called him out. So applying that to the court system, you served as a co-chair of the Family Law Project. We talked some about pro se litigants, and so I'm using that analogy to say, are we facing more and more times then where the Court of Appeals could sort of be like the home plate umpire, saying, look, the tar was on the bat too high, so I'm disallowing your home run. Sort of not a real good outcome because the record wasn't quite set up properly. So could you just talk about how you see where we're headed with pro se litigants and how that might affect, well, I suppose district courts, but also the Court of Appeals?
I think it's going to impact the Court of Appeals significantly as we proceed in the future. We see the increased pro se litigants or self-represented individuals oftentimes in our courtrooms. And the self-represented individuals are actually becoming even more sophisticated in the representation of themselves. So I do believe that we are going to see those individuals in the Court of Appeals. And it's going to be important then for the Court of Appeals to sift through maybe that not so perfect record and ultimately make a good decision for the benefit of those litigants that make those arguments to the Court of Appeals. It will be a challenge, and with the informal family law trial, we will have a record that is with a court reporter, so the Court of Appeals will have a full record on those types of cases also, just as an example.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Conover.
Judge, I look at our list of district court judges and include you in there as folks who are very successful in those interpersonal relationships with attorneys, and you have a lot of contact with litigants directly as a district court judge, and you necessarily are going to probably step back from that on the Court of Appeals, and you won't have as much of that direct relationship. Obviously, Court of Appeals position would be personally and professionally challenging and gratifying for you, but have you thought about just the change in workspace and how you go about doing your job, and whether that would be personally satisfying for you?
I have. That's a great question. I've spoken to several of the sitting Court of Appeals judges to get a feel for what the job truly entails. I've been fortunate enough to work with a few of them in some of the conferences that I've been involved in, and have gained a true appreciation of the work that they do, and even have talked to some of the recent candidates that have been appointed to the Court of Appeals. It will be different, and I know that. But I believe that the collegiality of the Court of Appeals will make a good transition for that interaction, that personal interaction. But I also realize if I am fortunate enough to be on the Court of Appeals, I'm more of an office guy. I'm going to work at the courthouse primarily most days and have interaction with some of the other judges at the courthouse. And I keep that open door policy that I have to some of the attorneys that come into the courthouse. Not much different from Justice Waterman, who is at our Scott County Courthouse. I would be the same.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I am very sorry to say that we have just run out of time.
All right.
But thank you for being here with us today, and we certainly wish you the very best.
Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.